The Psychology of Money is a personal finance book written by Morgan Housel, a writer, investor, and former columnist for the Wall Street Journal and The Motley Fool. Unlike traditional finance authors who focus on formulas, strategies, or technical investing advice, Morgan Housel approaches money from a behavioral and psychological perspective. In real life, Housel is known for studying how people actually behave with money rather than how they are supposed to behave according to textbooks. His work focuses on the idea that financial outcomes are driven more by emotions, experiences, habits, and personal history than by intelligence or mathematical skill. The Psychology of Money is built around short stories and observations that show how luck, risk, fear, greed, patience, and personal values shape financial decisions. The book argues that many people struggle with money not because they lack knowledge, but because they misunderstand human behavior, especially their own. Housel emphasizes that money decisions are deeply personal and heavily influenced by the time, culture, and circumstances someone grows up in. As a result, what seems rational to one person can feel reckless or unnecessary to another. The purpose of the book is not to tell readers how to get rich or what to invest in, but to help them understand why people make the financial choices they do and how adopting better behavior can lead to better long-term outcomes. The Psychology of Money positions financial success not as a result of brilliance or prediction, but as the result of consistent behavior, emotional control, and long-term thinking in an uncertain world.
One of the central ideas in The Psychology of Money is that people make financial decisions based on personal experience, not objective logic. Morgan Housel explains that every person views money through the lens of their own life story. Someone who grew up during economic hardship may prioritize security and savings, while someone who experienced rapid success early in life may feel comfortable taking risks. Neither perspective is inherently right or wrong, they are simply shaped by different experiences. Housel argues that this is why financial disagreements are so common. People assume others are irrational, when in reality they are responding to a different set of lived experiences. The book emphasizes that financial decisions are rarely made on spreadsheets alone. Emotions like fear, pride, envy, and regret play a massive role. Housel uses historical examples to show how people often misunderstand risk and reward because they judge outcomes without considering context. A decision that looks foolish in hindsight may have been reasonable at the time given the information available. This idea challenges the common belief that success comes from being smarter than others. According to the book, being right about money often has less to do with intelligence and more to do with behavior. Staying patient, avoiding panic, and sticking to a plan even when emotions are pulling in the opposite direction. Housel also introduces the concept that money is deeply tied to survival and status, which makes people react emotionally. Because money affects security, freedom, and self-worth, even small financial decisions can feel personal and intense. Understanding this emotional layer helps explain why people struggle to follow rational advice, even when they know what they should do. The book's message here is that improving financial outcomes starts with understanding human behavior, not mastering complex financial theories.
Another major theme in The Psychology of Money is the role of luck and risk in financial success. Morgan Housel argues that people consistently underestimate how much luck influences outcomes and overestimate how much control individuals have over results. Successful investors and entrepreneurs are often celebrated for their skill, while failures are blamed on poor decisions, even though both outcomes may have been influenced by forces outside anyone's control. Housel explains that luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. Both are always present, but often invisible. The book uses stories of extreme success and failure to illustrate how rare events can shape narratives.
Because luck is difficult to measure, people tend to ignore it, creating unrealistic expectations. This misunderstanding leads people to chase success stories without recognizing the hidden risks involved. Housel emphasizes that this mindset can encourage dangerous behavior, such as taking excessive risks in hopes of extraordinary returns. Instead, the book argues for focusing on resilience rather than brilliance. Financial plans should be built to survive uncertainty, not to maximize short-term gains. Housel introduces the idea that long-term success comes from avoiding ruin. If someone can stay in the game long enough, even average returns can compound into significant wealth. This requires managing risk carefully and accepting that not every opportunity needs to be pursued. The book challenges readers to think probabilistically rather than emotionally, understanding that many outcomes are the result of chance interacting with behavior. By respecting the role of luck and risk, people can build strategies that are more realistic, durable, and sustainable over time. Beyond investing, The Simple Path to Wealth places heavy emphasis on saving, spending discipline, and avoiding consumer debt. Collins explains that investing works best when paired with a high savings rate. The more money that can be invested early, the more time compound growth has to work. He argues that lifestyle inflation is one of the biggest obstacles to financial independence. As income increases, many people automatically increase spending, leaving little room for investing. Collins encourages readers to design a life that prioritizes freedom over status. This often means making intentional choices about housing, transportation, and consumption. Debt is treated as a major threat to wealth building, particularly high-interest consumer debt. Collins distinguishes between productive and unproductive debt, but remains cautious even with traditionally accepted forms like mortgages. The book emphasizes that debt reduces flexibility and increases vulnerability. Financial independence, as defined by Collins, is not about luxury, but about control. It is the ability to live life on your own terms without being forced to trade time for money. Saving aggressively and investing simply are presented as tools to achieve that independence. Collins also addresses the importance of understanding personal risk tolerance. Not everyone will feel comfortable with the same level of market exposure, and that's acceptable. The key is choosing a strategy that allows you to stay invested through good times and bad. Consistency matters more than optimization. The book makes it clear that wealth is not built through dramatic decisions, but through thousands of small, disciplined choices repeated over time. The final message of The Psychology of Money centers on contentment and defining success personally rather than socially. Morgan Housel argues that the hardest financial skill is knowing when you have enough. Many people fall into cycles of comparison, constantly chasing higher income, higher returns, or greater status because they measure success relative to others. This mindset leads to unnecessary risk-taking and dissatisfaction. Housel emphasizes that wealth is not about showing what you have, but about having control over your time and choices. The book distinguishes between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is visible, being wealthy is invisible. Wealth is the freedom created by having unspent money and optionality. Housel encourages readers to prioritize flexibility and peace of mind over maximizing returns. He argues that financial decisions should reduce stress, not increase it. The book also stresses humility in financial planning. The future is uncertain, and no one can predict outcomes reliably. Building room for error into financial plans allows people to adapt without panic. Ultimately, The Psychology of Money teaches that success with money is less about intelligence and more about behavior. Controlling emotions, managing expectations, staying patient, and defining personal goals lead to better outcomes than chasing perfection. The book closes with a grounded message. Doing reasonably well for a long time is more powerful than doing exceptionally well for a short time. Financial success is not about winning, it is about surviving, adapting, and staying in control long enough for good decisions to compound.